Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Business Courier. It's traditionally a man's world, but at least in Cincinnati, the construction business is changing. After 30 years in the same place, a local company is settling into new digs. And the Museum Center at Union Terminal has a new woman at the top. You'll meet her here on U.S. Bank Business Watch. Good morning and welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Peg Rasconi. On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, statistics indicate commercial real estate is a man's world, but that's about to change in Cincinnati. At the age of 39, Molly North will soon become CEO of downtown-based Al Nair. North is known as a troubleshooter, and she's taking over. In mid-2012, the commercial real estate world was changing rapidly and development opportunities were drying up. At the time, North was vice president for real estate and development at Nair and a main player in projects like U Square at the Loop near the University of Cincinnati. As North weighed her options, she set her sights on the CFO position at Nair. She got the job with the goal of helping fix some of the challenges in the business.
You can't sit on the sidelines and wait for your phone to ring. You have to actively be in the market looking for investment opportunities and making great investments. Those are investments in people, meaning our employees, our clients, as well as real estate assets.
Another of North's projects was redevelopment of Vernon Manor from an historic 1920s hotel to office space for Cincinnati Children's Hospital. As she prepares to become CEO, North says she's determined to spend as much time on the front lines as possible, saying she loves nothing more than constructing, executing, and closing a deal. The CEO of Messer Construction has been with that company since 1977. Tom Kekes started as a field engineer and is now chairman, president, and CEO of Messer, which has grown into a billion-dollar company. He says now is a good time for the commercial real estate business.
Construction in Cincinnati is back to a peak time. Everybody we talk to is busy in general. Subcontractors are extremely busy, and our backlog is up. I mean, we're still looking at projects, but we are being a lot more selective about the projects that we go after.
Messer is currently building the new headquarters for Mercy Health here in Bond Hill. Messer has been an employee-owned firm for 25 years. There are several more stories about the local construction scene in this week's print edition of the Courier. And on Tuesday, you can join the Business Courier for the Commercial Real Estate Developers Power Breakfast at the Duke Energy Convention Center. Doors open at 7 a.m. The keynote speaker is Jaromir Steiner, founder and chief executive officer of Steiner & Associates. Be sure to visit the website for more details. Christ Hospital has named the chapel adjacent to its cancer treatment center in memory of the late Herbert Smitherman Sr., a former Procter & Gamble executive. The hospital named the Smitherman Chapel to recognize a $50,000 donation from Smitherman's son Albert, CEO of Jostin Construction, and his wife Liza, who was a vice president at Jostin and the CEO of Brewster Pumping, a concrete service. The gift will go toward patient assistance in oncology, nursing education, employee assistance, and patient emergency assistant. Herbert Smitherman was 73 when he died of pancreatic cancer in 2010. A story about a big move by Kroger last week got a blizzard of hits on the Business Courier website. Cincinnati-based Kroger purchased the majority of dunnhumby USA's data analytics operation. Kroger is the nation's largest operator of traditional supermarkets. Kroger and London-based dunnhumby previously shared equal ownership of dunnhumby USA. With the buyout, Kroger gains the people and technology behind the secret sauce that analysts say gives Kroger an edge over competitors. The purchase will impact 500 of dunnhumby USA's 700 employees. The group is also getting a new name. It'll be called 84.51, a name that refers to the longitudinal coordinate of its new headquarters building at 6th and Ray Streets in downtown Cincinnati. A longtime Cincinnati architectural firm is stretching its wings after 30 years in the same space. Champlin Architecture had been in the Woodford building on 4th Street for 3 decades. The firm is showing off its bright, open new digs on the first floor of the Sawyer Point building near the riverfront.
We were really trying to create something that was sustainable and really fit how we worked. It's really collaborative. We were trying to introduce a lot of innovative thinking, so we have really spaces that support that.
The space is 10% larger than Champlin's former office, giving the firm room to grow. Champlin is the 5th largest architectural firm in the region with nearly 60 employees. For a closer look inside the office, you can visit the slideshow on the Business Courier website. Well, Cincinnati's newest brewery, Urban Artifact, is now open in the former St. Pius Church on Blue Rock Street in Northside. The brewery, which specializes in tart and sour beers, hosted its grand opening last week. This is video shot during the renovation, and here's an interesting twist. The tap room has a performance area, and the brewery's owners plan to give performers the option of recording their live shows for distribution through their record label, Grayscale Cincinnati. Bad Girl Ventures, the incubator dedicated to fostering women-owned startups and small businesses in the region, has a new boss. Nancy Reed Eichholz is a seasoned entrepreneur herself, founding pastry company Nan Cakes in 2010. She also has significant experience in something sorely needed by startups and small companies, fundraising. She says one goal is to increase funding, not just for her organization, but for the Bad Girl startups to help keep the jobs they create here in the regional community. Well, Cincinnati's largest cultural institution and arguably the coolest building has a new leader. The Cincinnati Museum Center Board has appointed Elizabeth Pierce as its new president and CEO. She's been serving in the job on an interim basis. Pierce played a key role in the Museum Center's campaign to persuade voters to increase the county's sales tax by 0.25% in order to make the critical repairs to its Union Terminal home. Hamilton County voters approved it with 62% of the vote. The job includes oversight of the Cincinnati History Museum, Museum of Natural History and Science, Duke Energy Children's Museum, and the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. We're delighted to have Elizabeth Pierce with us this morning. She's with Business Courier publisher Jamie Smith in the studio. Elizabeth and Jamie.
Thanks, Peg. Elizabeth, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you've been at the Museum Center for about 8 years. Tell me, why did you want this job?
Well, I'm a total museum geek, and what we have at Cincinnati Museum Center and the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center is this beautiful confluence of history and science and early childhood development and modern abolition and worldview, films and exhibits that we bring the world to Cincinnati. So it is such an incredible privilege to be a part of that organization that is going to spark curiosity and wonder in kids of all ages, your grandkids, my kids, older adults. So we just have a wonderful opportunity to create exciting learning adventures and help develop those next generation of problem solvers and innovators.
That's great. Now, again, because you've been there so long, what do you see as the biggest challenge of taking this new role?
Well, so no doubt there are a lot of moving parts right now, and certainly chief among them is the renovation of Union Terminal, and that is going to be something that we want to make sure we keep the community abreast of as much as we can and invite them in to what I think is one of the greatest science teaching opportunities as we talk about architecture and engineering. But probably the biggest challenge with that is communicating to the community that we have paid for or will pay for with the sales tax the renovation of the building, but we really need to do some additional fundraising and community development partnerships for the content inside the building and growing our endowment as well. So 3 things happening kind of simultaneously.
Right. Now, obviously funding has been an issue for a long, long time, and as you just talked about the tax passed, it was overwhelming how it passed. Why did that happen? I mean, what got behind it to make it so successful?
Well, I think we have the 2 things that were taking place. I mean, we've been talking about the needs of this building for the better part of 10 years. So I think as the community began to understand and really internalize it, they knew what the need was. Second, people love what goes on inside this building, and they love the building. So what we heard on Election Day as people were walking into the polling places were, of course I'm going to vote for it. My dad was involved with the trains. My grandfather was involved with the construction. I bring my kids there twice a week. I take my grandchildren there. So we have the absolute sweet spot of people who are in love with the building and in love with the content inside of it.
Okay, great. What can we expect as far as construction? I mean, what's the plan? When's it starting?
Well, I'm told that everybody wants to mobilize for construction for spring of next year, that would make the most ideal sense to begin to kind of take the building apart. And so we will kind of probably be on that time frame and then have about 2 years in order to get the whole thing done.
Yeah, not quite like a 5,000 square foot office, let's get it done, and we're done in a month. Yeah, you got bits and pieces you're going to be moving all over.
Right, absolutely. So somebody shared with me the other day and quantified, we have 5 acres of masonry and brickwork that needs to be addressed on the facade of the building. So that'll take a little bit of time.
Well, I think you're in for the game, and I'm so excited to see you at the Realm over there.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you back on the show as things progress.
Absolutely.
All right, again, congratulations. Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jamie, and congratulations, Elizabeth. Well done. Well, last week, the Business Courier recognized the winners of its 5th annual Innovation and Technology Awards. At a ceremony held here at historic Memorial Hall, 15 companies were recognized. The awards honor businesses and individuals that have helped fuel the regional's economy through new ideas and approaches. Categories were expanded this year from 5 to 10, and the nominations were judged by the Circuit, an IT association supporting the greater Cincinnati area. For a full list of winners, you can visit the Business Courier website. Well, up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, saving water is resulting in a huge cost savings at the zoo. And if there's a battle between streetcar construction and signature Cincinnati festivals, who wins? Some news now that's getting a lot of attention on the Business Courier website and social media sites. The Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden has saved enough water since 2006 to fulfill the needs of 10,000 households for a year. The effort is not only helping out the environment, but saving the zoo and local taxpayers millions of dollars. The zoo began its water conservation efforts by fixing leaks, installing low-flow faucets and fixtures, upgrading filtration systems, and changing everyday behaviors. Those changes brought the zoo's annual water consumption down from 220 million gallons in 2005 to 52 million gallons last year, contributing to an overall savings of 1 billion gallons of water. Some new ideas about a reimagined Burnett Woods in Clifton are being offered by UC students studying engineering, architecture, and planning. Few, if any, of the students' ideas are likely to be seen in the 90-acre park that serves the Avondale, Clifton, Corryville, and Cuff neighborhoods anytime soon, but it's nice to dream. About a year ago, Mayor Cranley said he wanted to see Burnett Woods become a more welcoming, pedestrian-friendly place. That prompted the student study. To see some of those ideas, you can visit the Business Courier website. Another day, another flare-up of streetcar drama. This time it's over whether the streetcar and major downtown civic events like Taste of Cincinnati and Oktoberfest can coexist, given that the streetcar runs through both festival sites. A 2014 memo says special events will have to work around the streetcar construction. But Mayor Cranley and City Manager Harry Black say streetcar construction will not interfere with special events. Taste of Cincinnati is scheduled for May 23rd to 25th on 5th Street, so stay tuned. Well, this morning, another signature Cincinnati event, the Flying Pig Marathon, is underway. So in today's U.S. Bank Economic 360, it seemed appropriate to discuss the value of investing for the long run. U.S. Bank Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager Mike Denneman is with Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio to talk about why it's wise to think of your investments as a marathon rather than a sprint. Guys.
Oh, thank you, Peg. Nice segue there. Now, I was hoping for a flying pig tie, but instead we have a jockey tie. Yesterday was the Derby.
Best I could do was the Derby.
All right, well, maybe next year you can work on that flying pig tie.
Sorry.
No problem. All right, let's start at the beginning. What does it mean to be a long-term investor?
Sure. So really it's just exactly how it sounds. You buy securities and you hold them for the long term, a period of many years. In fact, it's also called buy and hold investing. So the key here is not to look to make the fast buck, but rather to identify stocks that have the potential to do well over many years. A strong balance sheet, a solid dividend, preferably one that's growing, good management. All of these are signs of good long-term health for a stock. So studies have shown that the difference between earning a very good return on your investments and only a mediocre one is really pretty narrow. So knowing that your margin for error is so slim, if you can look to remove things that eat away at return over time, things like taxes and transaction costs, you really can help yourself in the long run, and that's where the buy and hold investing really comes in.
So when you're looking at your total portfolio, how do the gains and costs measure up to this or weigh in on this?
Exactly. So, again, if that margin for error is so slim, you really need to work to avoid putting yourself at a disadvantage. So an obvious one, always taxes. Anytime you sell an investment that's gone up in value, the government's going to want a piece of your profit. So the way to keep the government off your profits is not to sell. That tax only comes into play when you're selling. So if you're not selling, if you're holding for the long term, you avoid the taxes. And really the tax code helps to encourage that as well. The government gives you a break, a better rate, if you hold for at least a year or more. So there's an incentive to hold for at least 12 months. And then cost. We talked about transaction costs, or what are commonly referred to as commissions. Anytime you buy or sell, you're going to pay a commission. Now, granted, these are much lower today than they were historically, thanks a great deal to online trading. But still, even if that cost is small, if you're trading all the time, they begin to add up, and that, again, erodes your return. So how do you avoid that? Well, you don't trade. You, again, hold for the long term.
Okay, so the opposite of this long term, I guess, would be the day traders. Is that right?
Yes.
And
yeah.
So let me ask about that.
Sure. Well, everybody does. And you're right. It's the antithesis of long-term investing. This idea of day trading became popular back in the 90s with the tech bubble, this idea of people trading very rapidly over the course of days or even hours, trying to profit on short-term swings in the market. So we know that, of course, the market can be very unpredictable. Hard to know what it's going to do from day to day, let alone hour to hour. So certainly there are some that make a nice living doing day trading, but there are far more who have tried it and found that it's very difficult, and in fact, not only is it not a quick way to get rich, but also can put a pretty big dent in your portfolio. So again, we try to emphasize that long-term investing. It's not flashy, but sometimes slow and steady wins the race. And
I'm sure you'd rather be out running the marathon this morning, but thank you for being here with us and helping us.
If not running, at least cheering them on.
Yeah, you're so selfless.
That's right.
Thanks, Mike. We so appreciate you and U.S. Bank. Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, Kelly and Mike. And still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch, battling blood cancer, how some business leaders in our community are going for top honors to make a difference in that fight. And congratulations to Cheryl Ann Skolnicki, a writer, speaker, and coach who specializes in work-life integration. Another 40 under 40 honoree. In this morning's Business Insight, each year in communities across the country, passionate candidates compete to earn the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Man and Woman of the Year titles by raising funds for blood cancer research. The candidates compete in honor of children who are local blood cancer survivors. The funds are raised, they're used in many ways, including research and development, information programs, and helping blood cancer patients navigate cancer treatments. Cindy Tripp is one of the candidates for this year's Woman of the Year award. She joined P&G as brand manager in 1988 and is now president of her own consulting firm, Cindy Tripp & Company. Cindy is with Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer in the studio to talk about the importance of the Man and Woman of the Year fund drive. Rob and Cindy.
Peg, thank you very much. And Cindy, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Let's start at the beginning. Why are you so involved in this effort?
Oh, well, it's I have a lot of personal connection to it. Both my mother and my daughter have been battling leukemia the last 3 years. And my mother's is not curable. My daughter is in remission, and there's a lot of hope that we've cured her. So it's a topic that's very personally relevant for me, and I'm appreciative of what Leukemia Lymphoma Society has done for me. When we were diagnosed, information came from them that was the most helpful.
research led to drugs that were used to save both my mom and my daughter's life. So I'm involved because I'm grateful.
So your involvement, though, you've taken the form of sort of a business acumen series in your efforts here. Why did you decide on that? And tell us a little bit about exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. I think fundraising should be one of those things that's mutually beneficial. It can be a real virtuous cycle. So I hated the idea, since I've never done fundraising before, I hated the idea of having to ask people for money.
Yeah.
But offering people an opportunity, inviting them to give, and that they would get something in return beyond feeling good about the gift, I thought was a really interesting idea. And I looked at my life and said, I have been inspired by so many amazing business leaders that have impacted my ability to navigate the business world, that I thought that might be an interesting space for Cincinnati. So that's where I thought, well, let's create a business acumen. I made it up, a business acumen. Let me invite some of my friends that I've worked with over the years that have been particularly inspirational, and see if they'll be willing to help me out on this. And they all said yes, which was amazing. I mean, great. Well, there you go. Jim Stengel is going to be talking about ideals and how there's a new brand building model that's emerging based on ideals. It's more than just pushing the brand these days. It's about creating meaningful connections, and you do that through ideals. And so he has some really interesting research, a book, some insight to share, which will be amazing. Claudia Kochka, who Jim was the former CMO of P&G. Claudia was the former VP of Innovation and Design. I had the privilege of working for each of them at P&G. Claudia was an amazing woman at making things happen, changing the world. And so she's reflected on that, and she's sharing insights about how to break the rules and not get fired. Good. Now that sounds kind of crazy. Yeah. And my brother is president of a bank, and he goes, "I can't believe you're." I said, he was joking with me. I said, "No. Not integrity. We're talking about the rules that get in the way. We're talking about the status quo mindset that can really hurt a business."
And who's the third person, real quick?
Yeah, the third person is Rocco Del Vara. Rocco and I work together at P&G and since on Common Clients. He's a UC professor of drama who consults on rapport building, and he also consults in how to process intense emotion and use it for productive work and home life. And so those are our three.
So these are all happening in May, and very quickly, we're running out of time. Where can somebody go to get the information on
so the place to get the information is at my fundraising website, which you can find by going to www.MWOY, which stands for Man Woman of the Year.org, and search for Cindy Tripp, and the tickets can be purchased there.
Thank you so much for being here, and good luck.
Thanks so much.
And back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob and Cindy, and thank you for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll see you back here next Sunday.